We got to talk Stanley Cup Finals here because that's what we're here for. We've made it through a season, and it's time to talk finals. The Florida Panthers, we discussed a little bit before about their performance against the Rangers. They each won their conference finals, winning 3 straight after trailing 2-1. If you want to talk about the regular season series, they haven't played since December. The Panthers won both of those in November and December, but that was what, 5 months ago, 6 months ago. Those games don't matter anymore. Let's see here. Connor McDavid leads the Stanley Cup playoffs in points with 31, 5 goals, 26 assists. Leon Draisatl second in the playoffs, 28 points, 10 goals, and 18 assists in 18 games. Maybe you like to see McDavid scoring a little bit more, but as long as he's racking up those assists, who cares? Matthew Tkachuk leads the Panthers with 19 points. He's got 5 goals and 14 assists in 17 games. Let's see. And he led them in 24 points in the postseason last year. And then, we all know the fractured sternum derailed them. But when we just talk about the skaters here, before we get into the goaltending and the blue line, just talking about up front, it's clearly a matchup of depth versus, 2 of the best players on the planet here. So how do we see this shaking out on both sides?
I definitely give obviously the depth credit to Florida. Obviously, they have the 2 best players in the NHL and the Oilers. And I talked about this last week, is how much they wanted McDavid to be in this spot right now. And if the Oilers can somehow, pull this off and have, McDavid, we'll get into Conn Smythe later, but have McDavid be that guy. I mean, this is a big time for not only the NHL, but for like casual fans that, we all know that the NHL is not as promoted when it comes to their players as other sports are. And a lot of people wouldn't know Connor McDavid if they saw him. But like, you do know like when you think of hockey,
You the name.
You think of the name Connor McDavid, and to have him be the guy to win a Stanley Cup and to get the Conn Smythe and be the face of the NHL, that's big for hockey this year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be some good hockey. I think what's impressed me the most about the Oilers is their play, not defensively, but their penalty kill. Their penalty kill has been really, really good. They have not only shocking when somebody told me this, only the Vancouver Canucks have succeeded in scoring against them, which I could not fathom that Dallas Stars were unable to score a goal on the power play, which
Edmonton has killed off 28 straight power plays. So 14 against the Stars and then 14 more before that.
Shocking. Just could not believe that was actually a thing. The team that struggles so much with their goaltending, a team that employs Darnell Nurse, and yet here they are as one of the best penalty kill teams in the obviously remaining, but how they got there is probably due to that. You did see Connor McDavid take over in game 6. That there's nothing better than a toe drag backhand top cheese goal to start the fun off.
In a phone booth, too.
In a phone booth. He made Miro Heiskanen look terrible, which is quite the task, if you ask me. Miro Heiskanen is, to me, like a pillar on any team's blue line, and he turned them inside out like he wasn't even there. So kudos to McDavid for once again embarrassing a poor man on the ice. But Florida's got the depth that we know. This is a good hockey team. They're gritty. They are deep. They can play multiple different ways. I still think Florida will take this, but I don't think it's going to be as much of a walk in the park as people think it will be. The Oilers have played better. It's going to come down, obviously, to goaltending, special teams, and all those fun words. But the Florida Panthers just seem like they've been here. Now they know what they need to do to clinch it. They are healthy. The NHL has decided to give us 5 business days off, so I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. I was caught watching the Blue Jays play, and that was unfortunate. So
I play the A's this week, so at least you got a chance there to get some wins.
I need hockey back this week. Like I would watch basketball ahead of whatever else is going on right now. I am searching for something to do.
NBA Finals kicks off Thursday. Dallas, Boston should be a good series. And now you mentioned the amount of days off. Now, usually I'm a big fan of every other day, and then maybe once in the series you build a second day off, between games 4 and 5 or 6 and 7, whatever the case may be. Because of the distance, this is the most spread out, widest Stanley Cup distance traveled, 2,540 miles, whatever that is in kilometers to you guys up north of the border. But I certainly understand, because that's like a cross country flight every time, and I get it. You don't want a poor product because the guys are shot from a 6.5 hour flight. So I'm okay with the series being spread out for that reason. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of distance east-west, but let's face it, if it was Florida-Dallas, what is that, an hour-and-a-half flight, 2-hour flight? Big difference there. So usually I don't like the spreading out, but in this case, I get it.
I will say this. I mean, it's not like they are flying commercial on like tight seats,
right?
Where you
but
can't
people
move.
That are covering the series, all of those people, the media, they're flying. They're not on those charters, or some of them are not. So, and there's not a ton of Edmonton to Miami or Edmonton to West Palm or Fort Lauderdale flights.
I'm just saying they fly private.
That's the players. That's not everybody else involved with the series, though. That's not the media.
I'm not worried about the media. What was his face?
I mean, Carolina Edmonton was also a notoriously bad travel series back in 2006, the last time Edmonton was here.
I don't think the travel at this point is the be all end all for them. I don't know.
Well, part of it too is you get 2 Saturday games, because Hockey Night in Canada is going to want you get the series starting on a Saturday, and they spread it out so you could get I think it was game 4 that comes up the following Saturday. So you get, especially because that game 4 is going to be in Edmonton. So it's Hockey Night in Canada, literally in Canada. So that they had to make that happen once. So that's also part of it.
I can live with it. I can live with like having it be extended. It's perfect for me. Obviously, this goes all the way to the holiday in Quebec, which is called Saint Jean Baptiste, which is on the 24th. So if we get 7 games of that, I mean, then you basically have to survive July, and then August means September's around the corner, which means training camp is here. So we don't have to worry about not having hockey for that long of a time. I'm in.
It'll be a short gap. Now, you started talking about the Edmonton penalty kill versus the Florida power play, which is doing well, but let's flip that around a little bit. The Florida penalty kill also had a fantastic series against the Rangers, only allowed 1 power play goal, I think, in 15 opportunities. And then you got the Oilers power play, who is, top notch, and they do a great job. So I think that's going to be a matchup that kind of defines the series here a little bit.
I don't want to deal with. Here's the thing. We are old enough to know that we shouldn't be betting against McDavid and the power play. Like this, I feel like we've been here, we've done that. We know how this goes, right? Like they're too good to be stopped. When Connor McDavid decides he's going to do something, he's just going to do it. So I feel like it's a battle of the Titans here, because again, Florida is a very good defensive hockey team. They are structured. They're tough to play against. Like, even if the Raiders didn't play well, a lot of that credit goes to the Florida Panthers for making it extremely difficult for their best players to be their best players. So I am excited to see how that starts for Edmonton. Same thing for Florida, and what adjustments are going to be made on the fly. Because if the Oilers are unable to score on the power play, like that's a huge problem for them. They are not a 5-on-5 team. There's no
especially
mixing it up here. So if I'm Florida, I'm doing whatever I can to stay out of the penalty box. I do not want to end up there for 2 minutes. As a team, no matter how good you are, you can't afford to give the opposing team's best players opportunities to hurt you. And so it's going to be a fine line for guys like Sam Bennett and Nick Cousins, if he plays, to not put themselves in positions where they're giving Edmonton's power play the chance to hurt them.
So yeah, there's a special teams matchup now with a goal. We haven't talked about the goalies yet. You got Sergei Bobrovsky, who allowed 2 goals or fewer in 13 of his 17 games, including 5 of the 6 games against the Rangers. He's 12-5 with a 2.20 goals against and a 908 save percentage with 1 shutout in the playoffs. In that last series against the Rangers, the shutout comes there, as well as a 1.89 goals against and a 921 save percentage. Also, his 8.55 save percentage against high danger shots on goal is the best among the goalies to play at least 5 games in the playoffs. Second best on that list at 8.42 is Stuart Skinner. Yes, that is correct. He's 11-5 with a 2.50 goals against and an 897 save percentage with 1 shutout. He really has rebounded since he got benched for Calvin Pickard in those 2 games. He's gone 6-2 with a 181 goals against and a 920 save percentage. And he's also given up 2 or fewer in 7 of those 8 games. So Stu Skinner has certainly earned his paycheck in Game 6 there and kept them to win the series and kept them alive there. But if it's head-to-head, we're going to say Bobrovsky's the better goalie here. But has Skinner gotten to a level where you feel confident enough that he's not going to have like a game where he just gives up 4 or 5 goals at this point?
I was definitely surprised at the way he bounced back, like you said, after Pickard came in for him and the way he has played since then. And of course, Bobrovsky's the guy that we would say in a head-to-head would be the lead there. But of course, now that's going to change and Stuart Skinner is going to somehow play out of his mind in the Stanley Cup. I don't know. It's going to be tough against this Panthers team. It really is. And with all the depth that they have in the forward position, it's going to be really tough for them. I think that the Panthers are way better than what the Dallas Stars and what they had to provide. I think they're more seasoned. They have the experience in the Stanley Cup now, and this is going to be a tough go. This is a true challenge for Skinner, and if he somehow comes out of this with a Stanley Cup, more kudos to him.
Yeah, Stuart Skinner is the definition of high danger Russian roulette because you have no idea what you're going to get from him at this point. Because he was spectacular in Game 6. The Edmonton Oilers had 10 shots on goal, and I couldn't believe that an offense that dynamic could not figure out what to do. They just looked at times like they could not generate any offense. And give credit to the Dallas Stars. They kept pushing, they kept pushing, they kept pushing. Were those all quality shots? No, but they kept pushing. It's hockey. Pucks go off skates, they go off bodies, they end up in the net. So we've seen like the 2 extremes of Stuart Skinner here. Like we've seen him be the reason his team wins, and we've seen him be the reason that his team loses. And you have no idea which one you're going to get here. No idea. If I'm Florida, I want to get as many pucks on goal as possible because I want to figure out is Stuart Skinner locked in or is he not? Like, is he falling apart or is he in it? I would just fire everything towards the net. Good news as well for Sergei Bobrovsky. If he is leading the league in high danger scoring chances saves, it means he may be able to slow down Zach Hyman. Zach Hyman scored a goal from outside of 3 feet, and that got me out of my couch because I could not believe where he shot the puck from. So if Bobrovsky can contain everything around him and Zach Hyman can get clear, I don't know. Somebody's got to find a way to clear Hyman out of the front of the paint there. But to me, this comes down to goaltending and special teams. So which goalie is going to steal a game for his team? Because they're going to have to do it at some point. And I have a lot more faith in Bobrovsky doing so than I do Stuart Skinner. But it wouldn't shock me if Skinner does it because he's just so boom or bust right now. Like you don't know what's coming out of him. He could be amazing, or he could give up 3 goals on 7 shots and be done after 10 minutes of the first period. There is no middle with him.
We'll talk more Conn Smythe in a minute, but I could almost make the argument that if Edmonton wins the Stanley Cup, as much as we're all ready to give it to McDavid, Stuart Skinner may have to get serious consideration if they win, because if they do win, he's going to have to play a major part in that. So something to consider there. So yeah, you look at this, we look at the schedule here. You got Game 1 coming up on Saturday, Game 2 Monday, Game 3 Thursday, Game 4, like we talked about before, Hockey Night in Canada for Game 4 on Saturday, June 15th. Game 5, Oilers at Panthers, Tuesday the 18th. Panthers head back to Edmonton Friday the 21st. I hate Friday games. And then Game 7, if it gets there, June 24th at 8 p.m. that Monday. So there's the schedule for that series. And one other little footnote here Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett got to be hated in the Battle of Alberta for a while. They get to be hated again. You get to rekindle that, passionate hatred towards your opponent. So I think that'll be fun to watch too. Going back to something you said before about Florida does like to play on the edge. Is that because of what we talked about with not giving Edmonton those power play opportunities? Is that not harm Florida, but is that going to be a little bit of an adjustment for them to be like, hey, normally you're at a 10, we're going to need you more at like a 6.5, 7 in terms of the aggression level?
No, just don't take penalties, man. I mean, you're at this point. We saw a lot of different cases where, I guess early in playoff series, there were a lot of scrums. I felt like in the last 2 series, there weren't as many. Like, players understand how important it is to be disciplined. So you're not going to have, or at least I don't think you're going to have those stupid, just undisciplined penalties. I expect the Florida Panthers to maybe get caught a couple of times hooking Connor McDavid, just because that's the only way you're going to slow him down. So probably, but I don't expect any of those bad penalties that you take. Those I don't know, those scrum penalties for roughing, those kind of like soft
offensive zone penalties.
Offensive zone penalties are a no-go. Every coach hates that. I feel like you're going to get a lot of the classics. High sticks, if it hits you in the face, seems like an easy one. The puck over glass kind of thing. Like, all of those types of penalties are going to, because they're black and white. They're easy to call. I hit you in the face, draws blood. Here we go. There's no thought process for it. But I think a lot of those plays that are going to be closer to the line, I think referees are just going to let them go. And I think players as well are going to figure out that they can't not play the way that they want to play, but they got to make the first things first is you're not putting your team in a tough situation. So play better as a team. Don't take a penalty. Like, don't run into the goalie. I think there was one in that series, like Mikkola just like runs into him. And then I think it's Eric Gustafsson takes your team's going to go up 5-on-3. He takes an unnecessary scrum penalty, and then it stays 5-on-4. And I'm looking at that going like that. You can't,
that can't happen.
We can't be doing this. Not at this stage. So I'm expecting to see a lot less of that. I don't think we're going to see a ton of power plays either. I'm maybe 3 or 4 total for both teams. I can't expect a big moment.